where you at? In the jungle, who they bringing it back to the jungle? And the game day, yeah, the jungle's back. Got the natty pack in the orange and black stripes.
Welcome everybody to the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show on the Really True Sports Network. I am your co-host, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome in a man who I would like to bring up until the Bengals got rid of him, dominated the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 80s. It's been all downhill since Joe Kelly left. What's up, Joe?
What's up, Mike? Hey, man, good week, man. You know, special week, buddy. You know, we talked about last week, you know, hopefully going into this week on a high note, and we're definitely going to do that, man. And man, it's I don't think it could be, you know, it could have gone. These first five games could have gone any better. I think at the beginning of the season, if we would have said that we'll take 4-1 and be facing the Steelers, we'd have took it all day. So you know, Mike, man.
Yeah, and the way they did it with the come-from-behind win against Atlanta, then down 17-0 with 2 minutes left in the third quarter against the Miami Dolphins. They scored 27 points, and the great thing about that is over half of those points were from the defense, especially the defensive line. And when you look at it, third-round pick Sam Hubbard looks like he's going to be a steal.
Oh, absolutely. We looked at it, and we've always said that this team is going to go as far as our D-line carries us. And I think last Sunday gave us a huge indication of how far we can go. You know, our D-line, even though we were down, the defense wasn't playing bad. You know, we gave them 10 points. But, you know, you take away that punt return right before halftime. I was there, Mike, and I was looking at things that they were doing, you know, and I was excited, you know, about the D-line play. But I got excited. You know, you see the difference that 55 makes. When 55 hits somebody, Mike, it's over. There's no more yards, you know, after first contact. You know, like we said, our linebackers hitting some guys, man, and they're gaining 4 or 5 yards afterwards. But when 55 comes in there and he hits you, that's it. It was a 2-yard gain. It's a 2-yard gain. So, you know, I think they were feeding off that, man. And our D-line was absolutely relentless, man. And they came to play, and those guys are making plays. And as a result, you see a guy like Sam Hubbard, who, you know, we weren't hearing a lot, you know, having a lot of big plays for the first 4 games of the year. But it's contagious. You know, I always talked about, you know, big plays. Big plays, it's like, you know, it's like the flu. Somebody's coming to the house with a flu, and next thing you know, everybody in the house has the flu. You know, so, you know, it's contagious, man. And those guys start making plays, and next thing you know, hey, man, you have 2 defensive touchdowns and both for the defensive line. And anytime you have something like that, Mike, that's a good indication that more than likely you're going to win that ball game.
Yeah, and another draft pick who got in the second round, Jesse Bates, stands out to me too. He looks like a player, and when you look at Jesse Bates, I think you know why George Iloka is no longer here.
Well, you look at it. I was a little nervous initially when they did get rid of Iloka, but you look at the kid. The kid is a playmaker. The kid is around the ball. You know, he made a great interception. But I looked at plays that are not on the. They're not going to be on the news clip. They're not going to be at ESPN. You know, he made a couple open field tackles that if he doesn't make that play, you know, it's a touchdown. You know, people forget those plays that are not highlight plays. You know, coming in and supporting the run and making you know, great open field tackles because Miami they were gouging us. Frank Gore he a couple times he gouged us, and there's maybe 2 or 3 cases where if that last man didn't get it, you know, that instead of been a 7-yard gain, that would have been a 40-yard gain. So. I think he's feeling comfortable. He's feeling comfortable in the defensive scheme, and I think he's catching up to speed of the NFL. You know, it's a transition, and I think with how we played last week, hopefully that this is going to start and to build more momentum throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and another one, I think Nick Vigil's played much better the last 2 weeks. I think it's because you had Preston Brown and Vontez Burfict with him. So I think linebacker-wise, I think the linebacker play is worlds better than what we saw 3 weeks ago.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I say it all the time. We both say it. You have 55. 55 is going to up the play of those guys. You know, and when you look at it, there was a couple of huge missed tackles that Nick Vigil had, but then you see him bounce back. You see him bounce back and knock down a pass. You see him come and fill the hole, you know, make some good plays. You know, and I think that's a result of 55 coming in. You look at, you know, Brown. He's coming in and he's making some plays. Hopefully that I'm still kind of concerned with his ankle. And you know, they say sometimes like a breaking ankle is better than spraining, because you know he did go out. I kind of seen when I looked at the play, seen him scraping, and when he planted, I seen that because I had a tip fib before that high ankle sprain, and I seen that. So hopefully, man, that he can get some treatment. We can get that thing healed, man. So I would love to see those three guys at full speed for a couple of games, and I think that's just going to up our defense on defense side of the ball. That's going to make it that much better.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at the Pittsburgh game. It's Steeler week. The Bengals are 4-1 with the game-and-a-half lead, or is it 2.5 game-and-a-half? These tie things screw me up. But a game-and-a-half lead over the Pittsburgh Steelers here. And when I look at this game, Joe, I think in the end this game decides the AFC North. And the reason I say that is if they drop to 2-5 and the Bengals are 3-1, they're basically 3 games back, and we're almost halfway through the season. On the other end with the Bengals, this is when people talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, no matter what they do, you got to win a playoff game. Outside of winning a playoff game, I think the thing they can most do to legitimize this season is to be able to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have won, I think, 9 of the last 10 meetings. So I think confidence-wise, this is huge for the Bengals. Plus, you got to go to Kansas City the week after this. I think this is a must-win game for both teams.
I look at it. I look more so it's a must-win for Pittsburgh as opposed to us. The thing is, I don't want to look past Pittsburgh and look at Kansas City because obviously that's a huge game. But I look, at the end of the day, I think it's a must-win for Pittsburgh. With us, it's bigger than our standing. Mike, it's bigger right now than first place, second place. They can say what they want. I guarantee you, Mike, this sucker has been circled on the calendar last year. These guys are chomping at the bit. If we weren't 4-1, this game right here, this game it's a point where here you look at what has transpired the last year, the last 2 years, last 3 years with this Pittsburgh team, and in my opinion, we were good enough to beat those guys, those past years, and we did. I think these guys are salivating, dude. I think these guys, have this thing. I think, no, we don't have all our pieces. Giovanni Ross, we have some guys tweaked here and there. But what we have and the play that we had in the second half from both on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, I think it's perfect to carry that momentum into this game. We're not 100%, but we're where we need to be in order to be successful against Pittsburgh, man. I think it's a different temperament, Mike. I think these guys are expecting to win, as opposed in the past. We were playing, trying to see if we can compete with these guys.
Yeah, we were hoping we would win. They knew they would win.
Exactly. We were hoping that, a play here, somebody make a play there, AJ give us a play, Andy give us a play. We were hoping that, something like that would occur. I think now I think that we're going in and we're saying, hey, we're going in this game and we expect to kick some ass. I don't care what they did to Atlanta last week. This thing is circled on the calendar. It's at home. The weather's going to be perfect football weather. It's it's a statement. This is a statement game because if you look at still the national polls and ESPN and, that jerk on ESPN still talking about, he doesn't even have us in the top 10, man. He has Baltimore, ranked ahead of us, but, it's a statement game. This is a game that you come out because the naysayers, all the people that still think, okay, they got lucky. They got a bounce here, a bounce there. Let's see what they're going to do against Pittsburgh. So bigger than us looking ahead to Kansas City. We go into this game and we do what we need to do what we're capable of doing. I think we're going to whoop these guys. I think we're going to whoop them good. And then we'll let, Sunday night next week against Kansas City take its course. But I think right now, this is a statement game for us. It's going to say, hey, the 2018 Bengals, it's not what you see. Hey, you haven't won a playoff game. You haven't did this. This is a new season. There's a new season. I think these guys have a new attitude. I think we got some spunk. We got some spice on the offensive side of the ball with Mixon. I think Andy is in a groove. Obviously AJ's doing his thing. And I'm looking at Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd is taking it to another level. So I don't know if we had all those pieces at one time, Mike, that we were comfortable going into a game, and pretty confident that we can win. I think we was like, hopefully Pittsburgh makes a bad play. We make a great play in order to give us a chance to win.
Yeah, and when you look at this game, I think it hinges on, if you look at Pittsburgh in their first 5 games, the 2 games they won and a game they tied, James Conner ran the ball very successfully. The games that they didn't win, they got no run game. And with the Bengals, there's questions coming into this season. I think there still are questions about the ability for the Bengals to stop the run. And Frank Gore averaged almost 5 yards a carry last week. And I think the key to this game is this. If the Bengals can control the Steelers' run game, I think the Bengals will win the game. I mean, the Steelers have a really good offensive line, but I think the Bengals can get there with Geno and Dunlap, which they could get there without blitzing, which I think would be huge. But in the end, I think this game's going to be decided by the Steelers' run game, because without the run game, they're a one-dimensional passing team with a long-in-the-tooth quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at it, and Mike, it is. It is. I think Pittsburgh still feels that they're the big brothers. They still think that that mental dominance that they have on us, and how you come out and do that, and you show the little brother, he's still a little brother, but you come outside and you punch him in his mouth. You punch him in his mouth, and you see that, and you keep punching him in his mouth, and he's not going. He's pretty soon, Mike. He's going to go back in the house and tell Mom that you're not playing fair. So
yeah,
I think,
and then you're going to get your ass whipped worse than your little brother did. So which one are we?
Yeah, yeah. I'm saying they're gonna come in, and I know that they're gonna feed Connor, but Connor's Connor. Connor is not Le'Veon Bell.
No,
so
he's a solid running back and nothing else.
Yes, yeah. He's a solid guy that wouldn't get any minutes on our team. No. He wouldn't get any minutes on our team.
He wouldn't make the team.
He wouldn't more than likely make the team. So we're looking at he's a guy. He's a guy. He works hard. You're in the NFL. You're a capable player. No, can't take anything away from the kid because he works hard. He had a great college career in Pittsburgh, but he's a guy. He's a guy, as far as I'm concerned. And we're looking at here, and I'm saying, Mike, we don't go in this game and we don't stuff his ass, because this is not Le'Veon Bell. This is not the best. You're not going against the best running back in the league. You're going against a guy who's just a guy. So I think here we do that. We dominate up front. Our front four kicks their offensive lines. We kick their butt and get to the quarterback without having to blitz. Once we do that, then Mike, it's downhill. If our front line can get to Ben just with our front four, I think this is going to be a huge statement win for us. But the little brother has to go back, and when big brother comes out, Mike, he has to punch him in the face, and say, well, hey, big brother's not expecting you to punch him back. So right now, man, they're going to come out, big brothers, we come out, and we punch him back in the mouth. And we keep punching back in the mouth, and pretty soon, big brother's going to realize, well, hey, little brother's going up. And I think that's what we have to do.
Yeah, and you know what it's like to play in this rivalry, only it was kind of different then. We talked about the 1980s where the Bengals absolutely dominated the Steelers. So I think it was one where the Bengals might have been the big brother for a decade there. And when you look at this series from 1970 to now, what makes it so special? I mean, is it just the absolute violence that has happened? I mean, you go back even to 1983, I remember on a Thursday night game. It was either Thursday or Sunday night game. Keith Gary grabbing Kenny Anderson by the face mask and about breaking his neck. The history has always been there, whether it's Vontaze Burfict doing something or JoJo Schuster-Smith, taking the shot at him and standing over him. I think this game, a lot of it, not just the Connor thing, is how the Bengals go about playing this game. Do you play this game to get revenge for the last 10 games, or are you playing this game because you think you can win the Super Bowl this year? And if you are, you cut all the stupid stuff out. If Pittsburgh wants to do that, let them do it. But the main focus here has to be to win the game, where I think the main focus over the last 10 years was the Bengals were trying to show that, for lack of a better term, they weren't pussies. I mean, that's the way they played, and I think that's why they lost, because Pittsburgh will talk crap to you, will do stuff to get you to do something stupid, and when your mind is not right, I mean, things can spiral out of control quickly.
Yeah. Well, when we look at what's transpired lately since Burfict has been there, and how heated this rivalry has gotten, even when you look at Pittsburgh was the big brother, in the 70s, because they were winning Super Bowls. But if you look at those games, Cincinnati was always competitive. Cincinnati was the one team in that division that would beat Pittsburgh. A lot of times when they went there and won the Super Bowl, they did lose to Cincinnati. And then, once their 70 reign was over, you get to the mid 80s. They were the little brothers. So it wasn't. The Cleveland Browns were a bigger rivalry. Houston Oilers were a bigger rivalry back then. But I think this thing now has gotten back to that, that intense rivalry where it's all out war. It's when you look at it, you can say what you want and act like, hey, this is just another game, and it doesn't matter what happened. Mike, if I'm walking to school every day and this guy has kicked my ass from the 3rd grade to the 7th grade, don't think if I'm playing in 8th grade, then I'm not going to think about all those ass kickings that I got. And now I'm ready to fight him on this. I'm the same size, and I'm waiting for this dude to come out, and I'm in the 8th grade just so I can show him. So, all those things are going to come into play. The past, the history, it's the Bengals, it's Bengals versus Steelers. This is Steeler week. You can't get past that. At the end of the day, you have to be professional enough to understand here, once you get all that, once you're out, once you get through the introductions and you're running out and you're hyped, it comes back to playing football. And that's what it is. And I think right now we're playing better football than they are. You're going to have that. It's going to be intense. I'm sure the coaches, it's going to, hey, it's Pittsburgh week. Let's not peak. Let's not peak on Thursday. Let's not peak on Friday. Just let's work the game plan. Let's learn the game plan. Let's master it. And kind of quail the anxiousness and quail the excitement. So on game day on Sunday, it all comes out. It comes out in a ball of fury, and I think that's the preparation, Mike. In a week like this, you have to make sure that your guys stay. They stay at a certain level. You don't want those guys, because it's coming in. It's Wednesday. I'm Thursday. I'm hyped. It's Pittsburgh week. I'm going all out, and you sometimes you let the emotions control your concentration. So hopefully, they're in there and they're studying. It's going to be exciting. But I think the difference is now we know that we can beat them. Not that we need something to happen. We know that mano-a-mano, football, rain, 80 degrees, 90 degrees, whatever, that we can line up against Pittsburgh Steelers and kick their ass, period.
Yeah, and like I said, to me, I think the Bengals don't even make the playoffs if they lose this game. And it may sound nuts, but I think everything with the Bengals is in their head. I think it has been for a long time that way. And when you look at this, if you drop to 4-2 here, you go to Kansas City, you could easily be 4-3. You're playing the Bucs, who you should beat, but then you host the Saints and Drew Brees, which there's not too many tougher quarterbacks to go against than Drew Brees. Then you go to Baltimore. You've got a Browns team coming in, Broncos, you should win them. But then you've got to go to L.A. and face a Charger team that I think is a possible playoff team. You still got to go to Pittsburgh. You still got to go to Cleveland. The Bengals need this game. And, I mean, I know that a lot of times people in the press will say it. It'll be hyperbole just to pump the game up even bigger. But as just a fan looking at this game, I know this is a game that if they are going to do something this year, they really need to prove something here, and they need to prove it on prime time on Sunday night against a possibly undefeated Kansas City team.
Oh, absolutely. I look at it, I'm looking at it a little different than you, Mike. I'm not going to even talk the loss into existence for Sunday's game, but I'm looking at the schedule. I think, Mike, when we all looked at the schedule beginning of the season, we're like, okay, that's
Yeah, I was hoping for 3-2 right now, Joe.
Well, yeah, when I looked at that, but I'm looking at the schedule. The schedule now, compared to how it was and how the team finished last year, now how the teams are playing this year, this is not an easy schedule. This is a pretty hard schedule. This is a tough schedule. So, there are, I think this from a mental standpoint, this game against Pittsburgh is that. I think we go into Kansas City, whether or not we're 5-1, they're 5-1 or 6-0. It's gonna be in a great atmosphere, great stadium, Arrowhead Stadium. These guys are, they are playing lights out. They are playing lights out. But the Kansas City has been notorious for starting quick.
Yeah. They have with Andy Reid kind of some of the same problems the Bengals have. Only they occasionally win a playoff game.
Yeah. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at this game being tougher than Kansas City. We're just gonna go to Kansas City. They're we don't play each other every year. It's a game, and that's a game where you go in, you execute, and the team who makes the more bigger plays is going to win that game. But when you look down at the schedule, we have Temple at home, we have the Saints, at home. You look at, we got the Ravens, we can beat those. We got Cleveland. You got Denver. All these games, these guys, Chargers on the road. You're looking at, the Raiders. You come back with the Browns and finish with the Steelers. It's not easy, but I'm saying here we stay healthy. It's healthy, and you look at here. Even if we go in, we went 4-1 the first 5 games. Even if we go 3-2 the next 5 games, and we get everybody back. We get Ross back. We get Giovanni back. On our defense, that gives our defense even that much more time to get better. I see our defense. I see we're getting better. Our D-line is playing where we expect them to play. Those guys that we weren't expecting things, they're doing things. Our linebackers now are coming together. I think our, like I said, look at the safety play that we're getting. And obviously, hey, our corners, I think they've been playing pretty decent. This week is going to be a test. Anytime you go against Antonio Brown, it's going to be a test. But I'm looking at, you got to read in between the lines. You got to look at what those guys are saying when they're getting interviewed. It's a difference. I think there wasn't confidence. It's always, hey, well, we're going to go out there and we're going to line up. No, man. We're going to go out here and do what we need to do. We're ready. We're ready for these guys. We're confident. I just kind of sort of read in between the lines, Mike, of statements, and not from an arrogant standpoint, but I think this team and what we're doing and where we are, and the 2 back-to-back comebacks. I think this team is their confidence level is at an all-time high.
Yeah, I do too, which is another reason why I think it's that important. When you look at this game, I know you're going to pick the Bengals because we almost always do. When you look at the game, what do you think is the biggest key to winning the game? And then give me a score.
Biggest key is shutting down their run. We shut down Connor, we win. Period, bar none, no ifs, ands, buts about it. I don't think Big Ben is going to be mobile enough to stay away from our pass rushers. I think we stuff the run. Our guys are going to pin their ears back, and we're going to have Ben running all over the place. So I mean that's the key. I think I definitely know we can throw on them. I think we can run on them. Their defense has been pretty porous, throughout the year. They played well last week against Atlanta. But Atlanta is a team that's in transition. They have a lot of issues. So I'm looking at this, man. I'm looking at our guys, starting out early. I'm looking at us, controlling the ball. Pittsburgh is going to make some plays here and there, but at the end of the day, I don't see us scoring less than 30 points, against them. But I see us giving, a couple of big plays. They're going to make a big play. They're going to make a big play, no doubt about it. Those guys are professional. You have, Juju Sister, you have, AB out there, and Ben is going to make some plays. That being said, I'm looking at this game being, Bengals 35, the Steelers 17. I'm looking at that. Because I feel and I sense the confidence. I don't sense the we're going in this thing, not to win. We're just going in there, not to lose. And hopefully they make a bad play here and there. I think the attitude is totally different. So I think our offense is going to score. It's just a matter of whether or not our defense is going to shut down Connor. And I do not foresee them running the ball on us like that with 55 back.
Yeah, and I think the key outside of that is to keep Big Ben in the pocket. And I think this would be a big week for Carl Lawson to look like he did last year. You bring Lawson off one edge, you bring Dunlap out the other, you bring Geno up the middle, and you don't let Big Ben run around. Because as a Bengals fan, I know this. Big Ben gets outside of the pocket, it usually means big problems for the Bengals. My other thing is just if they will play with discipline. I mean, this team is a young team, which is a good thing because a lot of these guys haven't been around these other brawls we've had with the Steelers. And I think if they could just play with their heads and not buy into the Pittsburgh Steelers stuff, because we all know the national media will make the Bengals out as the bad guys, but the Steelers have always been the assholes in this situation. From Keith Carey on up, Jack Lambert. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are an organization that wins, but a lot of times they do that by getting in people's heads. It's not because they have the most talent on the field. And I think the Bengals had the most talent on the field, and I'm going to trust that they're going to have some discipline this week, and I think the Bengals win this game. We're going to go back to 1988. I did it last week, and I was right because you remember, when you guys played the Jets, didn't you fall behind like 16-0? And then came back and beat them 36-19. Yeah. So I'm going to say 1988, Cincinnati hosted Pittsburgh, and you know what happened, Joe. 42-7, the Bengals won. So I'm going to go 42-7, the Bengals over the
Steelers. All right. Mike,
now, A.J. Green going to run down the middle of the field, and it's going to look like, Eddie Brown running down the middle of the field, catching him from Boomer. Man. Only it's going to be A.J. catching him from Andy. And I think Joe Mixon is going to look like a combination of Vicky Woods and James Brooks in this game.
Oh, man, bring it back. Bring it back.
Unfortunately, the 7 probably won't happen because Bubby Brister was there and not Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, a little different. But like you said, man, I think here we're going. I think both you and I we went into there hasn't been many games against Pittsburgh where we felt we knew that we're going to go and win.
I think the last time I felt that way was that playoff game in 2015.
Yes, absolutely.
And I've been shell-shocked ever since.
Yeah, I think we both have. So, we're looking at it, Mike, and I'm looking for these guys to put it all together because we haven't. We had a bad half, last week. They were giving up some big plays against Atlanta. We had some guys hurt against Carolina, couldn't really, put it together. We got against Baltimore and we came out roaring. And I'm looking for us to come out like that Baltimore game, but then I'm looking at us to sustain that. I'm looking at our offense to, like PB used to say, you got your foot on the neck. Don't lift it up to adjust it. You got your foot on your neck, you keep it down, you keep grinding. Because the minute you lift it up to try and adjust it, boom, now they make a play. So, we're going to go back old PB style. And, you get those guys down, you got your foot on the neck, man. You keep grinding, all the way for 60 minutes.
Until their head pops off, Joe. Until their head pops off.
Until it pops off, baby. Man. Yeah.
All right, guys. We will be back next week to talk about this win, which will be 42-7 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we will preview the Sunday night matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopefully by that point, the Patriots will beat the Chiefs and will be playing for the number 1 overall seed. Even though it's early, it's always better to be number 1. Tonight, Indiana Basketball Weekly Show with myself, 1981 National Champion Steve Risley, and Colin Hartman, who played the last 4 years for the Hoosiers. Our special guest will be Robert Johnson, who was the shooting guard for the Hoosiers the last 3 years. So make sure you check that out at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And then at 9 o'clock tonight, Robert Drummond will be on with the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show. Robert was a 4-time Grey Cup winner, played with Doug Flutie in Toronto and in BC. And then at 9:30, we will have Inside Boxing Weekly with Jeremiah Pricer and John Einreinhofer. You can follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. You can go find us on Facebook. Just search The Grueling Truth. All of our shows are now available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.